We usually think about fear as this really simple thing. Biology 101, right?
Yeah.
You see a lion, your brain flips a switch, and you either run or you fight.
Right, it's that classic fight or flight response. It's what kept us alive for thousands of years.
But I was going through the source material for today's deep dive, this psychological snap test, and it suggests there's a third option. And it isn't freeze. It's much stranger. It says that when our brain faces something just too absurd, too weird to process, we don't scream. We laugh.
We do, and that's the whole idea we're getting into today.
Right.
This SNAP test, it's a thought experiment, really. It's built to measure a person's resilience, but not to pain or terror. It measures your tolerance for what the material calls high strangeness.
High strangeness. I love that term.
It's a great one. The test is looking for a very specific point, the exact moment a person stops being afraid of what's happening and starts treating it like a joke. When does the horror finally snap into humor?
So to figure that out, we have to walk through this simulation. And I got to say, reading the notes, it feels like a total fever dream. There are pink wetsuits, a weird obsession with a car magazine, and a very suspicious beverage fridge.
It sounds chaotic, yeah, but the structure is actually very, very deliberate. It's designed to track 3 phases. First alarm, then cognitive distance, and then the last one, normalization.
Okay, so let's set the scene for everyone listening, because the starting point is almost deceptively normal. This isn't some haunted house.
No, that would ruin it. If you're in a creepy place, you expect creepy things. For this to work, you need a perfect baseline of normality. So the test puts you, the subject, behind the counter of a small market on a sunny day. You're the owner, just selling chips and soda.
And the notes make a big point that for the first 10 minutes, nothing happens.
And that's maybe the most critical part of the whole experiment.
Why is the boredom so important?
Because you have to establish a control group inside your own head.
Yeah.
You need to sink it into that mundane rhythm. The hum of the lights, the dust motes in the air. Your brain has to be completely convinced that this is reality before the weirdness starts.
So you're lowering your guard. You're not in survival mode.
Exactly. You're in customer service mode. You're thinking about restocking, not about danger.
Okay, so we're 10 minutes in, we're bored, and then stimulus 1. A family walks in, mom, dad, couple of kids.
And they're just average. They buy some juice, maybe the kids want candy, they pay, they leave.
The analysis calls this baseline human mode. No alarm.
It just reinforces the basic rules of your world. People come in, they buy things, they go. It's all working as expected.
Then, stimulus 2. A teenager. Headphones in, looks kind of messy.
Still totally within the baseline.
Yeah, I mean, as the cashier, I might be watching to make sure he's not shoplifting, but I'm not scared. Just, maybe a little annoyed.
It's a slight variation, but it doesn't violate the rules. That's the key.
But then, the first little crack appears. Stimulus 3. A tall man walks in. He's got a suit on, but it's a little too tight. And he's wearing these dark sunglasses. Indoors.
And crucially, he says nothing.
Just stone-faced. He buys a bottle of water, pays with the exact change, and leaves without a word. The notes say this is where cognitive distance begins. Break that down for us. What's the brain doing?
So cognitive distance is that moment you stop participating in reality and you start analyzing it. This guy is a schema violation. He's breaking the unwritten social rules.
But you're not scared yet.
Not yet, no. Because your brain is trying to solve it like a puzzle. You're thinking, is he a celebrity? Is he some kind of agent? Is he just a jerk? You're applying logic to explain the weird.
That movie trope, right?
Yeah,
My first thought would be Men in Black or something.
And that itself is a defense mechanism.
Yeah.
We file him away as an archetype, so he's not a real unpredictable person. We go, oh, that's just the Agent Smith character, and we distance ourselves.
Okay, so we've got a weird guy in a suit. Logic is still kind of in control. But then stimulus 4 hits, and this is where the source says the tension really starts to climb.
Yeah, this is where we move from socially awkward into something else. The uncanny.
An older man walks in. He's described as short, twitchy, nervous, and he goes right to the back of the store and just stares at the beverage fridge.
For 2 whole minutes.
Which, in a quiet store, feels like an hour.
It really does. If you watch someone stare at something that isn't moving for that long, your brain starts flagging it. This is active monitoring. You're asking, is he sick? Is he planning something?
And then this is the detail that gets me. He doesn't buy a drink. After 2 minutes of staring at the fridge, he grabs a car magazine off a rack nearby and leaves.
The behavior is completely incongruous. It makes no sense. And look what the simulation did there very subtly. The protagonist isn't the customer anymore, it's the fridge.
The fridge is now a character.
It's become a focal point.
Yeah.
You don't know why yet, but your brain has tagged that appliance as important, as maybe a threat.
And that feeling gets fed, like, immediately. Stimulus 5. This is just, it's so ridiculous. Two men walk in wearing full, bright pink neoprene wetsuits.
Dry wetsuits. Inside a market.
It's just absurd. I'd be looking for a hidden camera. I'd think it was a prank.
And you would be, at first. If they just bought something and left, it'd be a funny story, but they don't.
No. As they're leaving, one of them stops, and he stares at the exact same spot in the fridge the twitchy guy was just looking at.
And that's the moment. That's when the humor just dies.
Why? Why does that kill the joke?
Pattern recognition. One weird guy staring at a fridge is just a weird guy.
Yeah.
But two completely separate, unrelated groups staring at the exact same square foot of glass. That's not an anecdote anymore, that's data.
It connects the threads.
It creates a story. The absurdity of the pink wetsuits just melts away, and all that's left is the behavior. Your brain flips from, look at those guys, to, what are they seeing that I can't?
That's a scary thought. What am I missing?
You're right on the edge of paranoia. You're waiting for the punchline, for some YouTuber to jump out, but they don't. You're just left in this quiet store with this growing dread that something is very wrong with that fridge.
And then the simulation throws Stimulus 6 at you. The source calls it the peak of tension.
The dog.
A random dog just runs into the store. And of course, what does it do? It runs to the back and starts barking at the fridge.
Of course it does.
I mean, we all know the trope from horror movies. The dog always knows. It senses the ghost, the earthquake.
It represents pure instinct. It senses things our logical minds filter out.
So the dog barks, you shoo it out, and now you're alone. But you've had 3 separate confirmations. Twitchy guy, wetsuit guys, dog, that the fridge is the problem.
And this triggers a much more primitive, practical kind of fear. We're past social weirdness now. Your amygdala is firing. You're not thinking about ghosts. You're thinking about actual physical danger.
Like a gas leak.
Exactly. Is there a gas leak causing hallucinations? Is there a weird electrical problem? A high-pitched sound only the dog can hear. Is there a rat in there?
So you have to check it. You can't ignore it anymore.
You have no choice. The not knowing is worse than whatever could be in there. You have to open the door.
So in the simulation, you walk over, your heart's probably pounding, you pull the handle, and
It's nothing.
just cold drinks, sodas, juice.
No weird smell, no sound, no rats. It's working perfectly.
You know, reading it, my first thought was that this would be a relief. Like, phew, okay, I'm just crazy. But the analysis says this is actually the highest point of stress. Why isn't finding nothing a relief?
Because of cognitive dissonance, your instincts, which have been confirmed by 3 outside sources, are screaming, danger. Your eyes are telling you, no danger. When your gut and your senses are in violent disagreement, the brain starts to feel like it's breaking. It implies that your own reality testing is what's failed.
It makes you feel like you're the problem.
Precisely. If the fridge is fine, then I must be the one who's going crazy. And that is a terrifying conclusion to come to.
So we're at peak anxiety. We're staring at the Gatorade, just waiting for it to attack. But then the simulation does something really smart. It de-escalates.
It gives you a pivot point.
The normal family from the morning comes back. It's getting dark now, and they're
Yeah.
just normal. They buy some chips, they chat, they don't even glance at the fridge.
This is what the notes call an emotional reset anchor. It confirms that the world outside this store is still functioning normally. The family isn't seeing wetsuits or hearing weird noises.
So the cashier can finally take a breath.
Hmm.
You start to think, okay, maybe I'm just exhausted. Maybe I just imagined the whole connection.
You downgrade the threat. The fridge isn't a portal to another dimension anymore. It's just an appliance. You rationalize it. It's been a weird day.
And that is the perfect moment for the snap. Because right after that family leaves, the messy teenager from the beginning comes back.
The very first variation.
He walks in, he looks right at the fridge, he kind of whispers, cool, to himself. Yeah. Then he buys the exact same car magazine the twitchy man bought earlier.
Boom. There it is. That's the snap point.
Now, logically, this should be the most terrifying moment. It confirms the entire pattern. But the notes say the subject doesn't panic. They laugh. They find it funny. Walk us through that. Why is that funny?
It's funny because the pattern is too perfect.
Too perfect. What does that mean?
Look, if the teenager had done something new and scary, if he started screaming or pulled a weapon, the fear would come right back. But he bought the same magazine after looking at the same fridge. It feels scripted.
Like bad writing in a movie.
Exactly. It feels like a callback in a comedy sketch, not a real threat. The brain just gives up on the threat interpretation because reality has become too neat, too organized to be dangerous. Real danger is messy and chaotic. This is a bit.
The notes have this great line about the inner monologue. It shifts from, is there a gas leak, to, of course, the fridge has fans now. The car magazine is its religion.
The car magazine is its religion. It's complete, utter nonsense. But notice how much better that feels than being terrified.
It's relief to just give in to the absurdity.
That's the snap. It's the moment you go from being a victim inside the story to being an audience member watching it. You detach. You say, okay, this is just ridiculous. I might as well enjoy it.
So we've normalized the situation with humor. We're laughing at the cult of the fridge. But the simulation doesn't stop. It pushes past weird and right into the impossible.
The full surrealism.
Stimulus 8. The tall Agent Smith guy comes back. Except he doesn't walk through the door.
No, he walks out of the fridge.
Which is physically impossible. A grown man can't hide behind soda cans.
Logically, no. But your brain has already snapped. It's already in what the notes call narrative spectator mode.
So we don't scream and run.
Nope. The reaction is described as a dry laugh because your brain just refuses to process it as a physical event. It interprets it as a dream or a glitch in the matrix or just how things work now.
The inner thought they list is, the fridge is casting people now.
Which is such a tired, resigned thought. It's that feeling you get at 3 in the morning when you've been working all day and something breaks. You don't fight it. You just accept the new data. Okay, people come out of fridges now. That's a rule. Got it.
It reminds me of people in really high-stress jobs.
Yeah.
ER doctors or soldiers.
Yeah.
They see things that should be horrifying and they crack a joke.
It's the same mechanism. It's called derealization. If you actually tried to emotionally process the fact a man just walked out of your fridge, your mind would break. So instead, you distance yourself. You tell yourself, this isn't really happening to me. This is a movie I'm watching.
And then the climax. It's midnight. The pink wetsuit guys come back.
And they just casually walk into the fridge and disappear.
You go over, you open the door.
And it's just drinks.
And the reaction isn't, oh my God, where did they go?
No, because asking that question means you still believe they were real people who followed the laws of physics. At this point, the subject has fully accepted the unreality of it all. The reaction is just numb amusement.
It's like, okay, whatever. My brain is being weird tonight.
And it proves the whole point of the SNAP test. When you're faced with this high strangeness that doesn't actually physically harm you, our ultimate defense isn't fight or flight. It's storytelling. It's humor. We make the terrifying trivial so we can get through it.
That's a really powerful idea on its own. I mean, it explains a lot about meme culture and how we deal with disasters. But the simulation has one more twist. And this part, it stopped being funny for me and got surprisingly deep.
The ending is beautiful, I think. It reframes the entire experience.
Okay, so the shift is over. You lock up the shop for the night. You turn and look at your reflection in the glass of the front door. But you don't see yourself.
You see the dog.
The dog that barked at the fridge hours ago. You look in the mirror, and the dog is looking back at you.
Now, stop and think. In a normal horror story, this is the moment the character shatters. They scream, they break the glass, they realize they've gone insane.
But that's not what happens here.
No. The source calls this final phase integration. The subject doesn't think they have literally turned into a dog. They don't start barking.
So what do? How do they process that?
They understand the symbolism.
Yeah.
Think about it. Who was the only one in the whole story who knew something was wrong from the very beginning before you did?
The dog.
The dog. The dog was pure instinct. It was the part of you that sensed the anomaly before your logical brain could even try to explain it away. The dog barked while you were still trying to be polite.
So seeing the dog is like finally acknowledging that instinctual part of yourself.
It's a moment of pure acceptance. The note says the final inner monologue is just one sentence. I was the part of me that barked.
Wow. I was the part of me that barked. That's surprisingly poetic for a story about a weird fridge.
It is. It's not a story about going crazy. It's a story about realizing your gut was right all along. It's actually a very peaceful ending in its own strange way.
It makes you think about how often we ignore that inner dog in our own lives because we're trying so hard to be logical. You know, you see something that feels off at work or in a relationship, and you tell yourself, no, that's normal, don't bark.
All the time. We gaslight ourselves to maintain that baseline mode. We desperately want the world to make sense, so we suppress the part of us that notices when it doesn't.
So, if we zoom out,
Yeah.
what's the takeaway from this snap test? For someone listening to this on their commute right now, why does this matter?
Because we all have these snap points in the real world. Maybe it's not a magic fridge. Maybe it's a project at work that gets so convoluted and have so many contradictory demands that it stops being stressful and just becomes funny.
Or just reading the news some days, the headlines get so bizarre you have to laugh because what else can you do?
That's it right there. That moment where you just throw your hands up and go, okay, sure, why not? That's not you giving up. That is your brain protecting you.
It's a shield.
It's narrative spectator mode kicking in to stop you from burning out. We need that ability to step back, to find the dark humor in the bad writing of our own reality. If we took everything completely seriously all the time, we'd just shatter.
It's almost a kind of superpower. The ability to look at a complete disaster and just say, cool, the car magazine is its religion.
Exactly. It keeps us sane. We're meaning-making creatures, and if reality stops making sense, we'll just invent a new story genre to cope with it.
We invent a new genre. I like
Well,
that a lot. Better than the alternative.
Definitely more entertaining.
Well, that pretty much brings us to the end of this deep dive. A journey from a sunny Tuesday to gas leak paranoia to a fridge cult and finally to the dog in the mirror.
It was quite a trip.
So before we wrap up, I have a final question for you and for everyone listening.
I'm ready.
If you saw a pattern today that defied all logic, let's say 3 different coworkers walk past your desk and are all carrying the same exact blue stapler and walking backwards, how long would it take you to snap? To stop being confused or worried and just start laughing?
Oh, for me, the second stapler, I'd snap fast. I've seen enough weird things in my research to just lean into it.
I think I'd need the third one. But after that third one, I'm giving that stapler a name. It's an honorary employee now.
As you should. Lean into the bit.
Thanks for diving in with us. Keep an eye out for the patterns, everyone. And if your fridge starts acting up, maybe just buy the car magazine.
It's probably safer that way.
We'll see you next time.